So, are we ready?
I think we are.
Let's do it.
Okay. Hi, I'm Simon Mercer. This is Crave, the podcast and video cast dedicated to music and film and just about anything that's been entertaining me and Steve McCabe lately.
Indeed. And this week, Simon and I, we just caught the Auckland concert of the English singer and songwriter Lily Allen. Now, I found that show a little bit wanting.
I didn't. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Well, one thing I did enjoy was Green Book, the comedy drama film, we'll call it.
I loved it too.
Yeah, I was very impressed with quite magnificently brilliant historical drama, Mary, Queen of Scots.
Mary, Queen of Scots. I liked it, and there's a really interesting thing to talk about there, Steve, about the casting and who they chose, the colour of the skin of the cast.
Yes.
We'll get to that later.
We're getting racist here, aren't we? Absolutely. Let's do it. Got a couple of words about Auckland's Laneway Festival.
Right. I've also got a couple of words about a film I was really looking forward to, Glass. Don't think it quite delivered on its promise, though.
No, and we'll also very briefly touch on another one that's not delivered on its promise. Oscar favourite, The Favourite.
I've heard good things about that.
Yeah, not from me, then.
Okay.
No.
Right. Well, look, let's get into something which I think we're going to disagree about.
Yeah, we'll start with Lily Allen, shall we? Last night, it's fresh. I mean, little over 12 hours ago, we were there, Spark Arena in Auckland, a very, very reduced.
That's true.
Spark Arena.
Yes, this was severely. It was probably half.
It was certainly what they call theatre mode. Yeah, where they pull the stage halfway up the arena floor, and so the seating around the sides is less than half of its usual. The floor capacity is about half, and even then, there were quite a few bald patches in the seats.
Yeah, that's true. It wasn't full.
Not even close.
But what was full for me was the actual show. I enjoyed it.
You did?
I'd never seen her play live. I was familiar with one or two of her big songs, but not her canon, if that's the right word to use.
It will take it. Her oeuvre.
And I had read how she had become this woman who was edgy in terms of her subject matter, her use of language, quite personal, quite honest about what she'd done wrong in her life, a lot of relationship songs, frank about sex, frank about infidelity, all this sort of stuff, and using the F word and everything else. So I was interested to know what persona I would be presented with.
Right, and I like the way you worded that. I'm going to come back to that.
Okay, but I thought she was engaging. I thought she was very comfortable in her own skin. I was standing in the main floor area. Everyone around me was totally tuned into who she was, I think. Obviously, they were familiar with her songs. The energy was good. She seemed to me to be maybe a little bit knowing, perhaps.
Okay.
But I bought into what she was saying. It was a very simply presented concert.
I'm going to go further than that.
Okay, go on.
It was underdone. It was sparse. It was
sparse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, let's face it. I mean, you can see photos of this on our website, cravepodcast.com. We've got some photos, but there's not much to see because you've got Lily Allen at the front of the stage.
Yep.
Standing still most of the time, occasionally walking around a little bit. The girl's not a dancer.
No, a little bit of shimmying here and there, but not much.
Not much at all.
Yeah.
You got two blokes, one behind a piano and one at a desk. Going occasionally literally tapping out.
That's true.
On a drum pad thing, and occasionally actually playing a bass guitar.
Yes.
Occasionally.
Yes.
And then two columns of lights, and that was it. No stage show, no set whatsoever. And so it was
pared back, shall we say?
No, we shan't, because that sounds like it's an artistic decision. This was just, there was nothing there.
Okay.
And she's, in my opinion, she was projecting an image that was, in my estimation, quite fake. Yeah, you say, she's very frank, and she swears a lot. Basically, she tries to talk dirty to shock.
Well, okay. There's two parts that I can speak to the language part, but I don't. The nuances of her background in England and what she's projecting. I'll come back. Let you maybe pick that up.
There's some England signifying going on,
but
definitely.
I thought the subject matter, like a song like "Not Fair," a song about a woman who says this bloke is really dedicated and kind, but he's no good in bed. That's not a subject that you would have come across in popular music very often, if ever.
No.
So
Not in top 40 popular.
No,
music.
not in top 40. So part of what she's done in the lead up, she's been going, she's 33 now, she's been going a good decade. I guess has been to sort of try and break down some of these little taboos about what you can write a song about, a pop song.
I'll give you that one.
So I thought I didn't have a problem with that. And if in doing that she's swearing, that's also saying this is the language of most people and I can use it and it's okay. So I don't have a problem with that so much. Yes, there's an element of shocking, but all popular culture has got that built into it to a certain degree, I think.
And I would have no problem with any of that.
Right.
If I thought it was authentic.
Okay, well, come to that.
And
that's what I don't know so much about.
This is what I didn't get. Again, look at the photos on the website. You'll see how she presented herself. She's got the Adidas sweatpants.
Yeah.
Got the hoodie.
Yeah, it's a bomber jacket type thing.
And then some sort of spangly halter top, bustier type thing. I don't know what the word is for it. And she wants so hard to be Essex. And
now, just for those who don't know, what does that mean?
I'm on thin ice here because
is it kind of working class with an attitude, or is it a bit more than that?
There's elements of that going in it. I mean, I'm thinking for a Kiwi audience, the closest you could get would be sort of Westie. But even then, you're not really doing it justice.
Right. Okay.
I mean, if I start using words like slapper, then anyone from England who watches this is going to get offended. But if you're from England, you know what I'm saying when I say Essex.
All right.
And it's sort of like the slightly lower orders, bit sparky, bit we know we're not posh, but we're who we are and we're proud of it. And so when she thinks with that one's on a party line, and she aggressively drops the T into a glottal stop and it's party line.
Right.
And that's very definitely marking herself as being East End or Estuary. It's a very specific kind of English.
And she's not?
The moment she stopped singing, she started speaking to the audience, suddenly she was terribly posh.
I didn't. Okay, to my ear, and I'm not as attuned as you are, she didn't come across as that posh, but that's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I was hearing. When she was speaking, she was significantly posher than when she was singing. Very definitely so.
Okay.
Born in Hammersmith, don't you know?
Hammersmith, okay. All right.
Born in central London, in Hammersmith, to a Thesp father, Keith Allen. She comes from good stock, she really does. And she affects, in my opinion, her looks, her voice, to a degree, her lyrical content. It tries to project a kind of a working class woman of the people kind of image that doesn't seem to come out of her actual experience. I mean, I don't know the woman, I can't tell you that that's true or not, but that's certainly the image I got last night was she was singing an affectation that went away when she spoke.
Okay, I didn't get that, but I'm not English and I don't have any English heritage, and so maybe that went over my head. I thought that she kind of stayed on message through the concert. Here's a comparison that came to my mind. I just mentioned this in my review on cravepodcast.com.
That's cravepodcast.com.
We saw Robbie Williams the other year.
Yes.
Now here's a guy who portrays this Cockney lad, cheeky, bit sexist, a bit of a rebel,
bit of a lad.
Bit of a lad. Yeah. And but he gives you songs which are sort of lush pop ballads and rocky songs that don't go anywhere near this sort of image. And I always thought he put on a good show, but I thought this is very it grates. It doesn't quite sort of match up. Whereas with Lily Allen, I thought by taking away any pretense of a big fancy show and just focusing in on her, it was just her standing there singing. And while I couldn't hear all of the lyrics, it seemed to me she was saying, "Here's my songs, here's my lyrics."
Yeah.
This is what I'm about, and most of the songs are about relationships. There's some political stuff, and it seemed a reasonably coherent presentation to me.
Well, I will allow that. Certainly, I mean, she writes a good lyric.
Yeah.
I don't think it's authentic, but it's certainly it's well written, and so both of her songs come across quite nicely.
What do you mean both of the songs?
She's only got two.
What does that mean?
She's got the fast bouncy one with lots of trippy lyrics in it, and then she's got the slow mawkish saccharine one, and she played each of them several times last night.
I think it's a bit harsh, but I know what you mean.
Yeah. Well, come on, that one song 3 that's supposed to be sung in the voice of her 3-year-old daughter saying "I miss you, mummy."
Yeah.
That I mean, seriously, I was reaching for the insulin at the end of that one. That was.
You don't mind if I have a snack, do you?
Please do so. That's what they're there for.
All right. Well, I think the key. Before I do that, the thing that most struck me and I was standing amongst a mostly young audience.
Mostly young female audience.
Yeah, although there were a few middle-aged people here and there. I think people got this sort of rebellious, breaking down the social taboo aspect of her songs most. That's the thing that they most wanted from her.
Yes.
And I think that was the biggest connection she made with them. So, we didn't discuss this before doing the podcast.
Yeah.
But she ended with a song which is, should we say it?
We're allowed to swear that we're grown-ups, Simon.
Okay, we are.
We are.
It's called Fuck You.
Yeah.
and it's presented as a catchy pop melody.
Yes.
And as she explained, it was written initially about George W. Bush, but she dedicated it to Mr. Trump.
Yes. But you remember also, do you remember how she came on stage?
Just remind me.
Coming out the speakers, there's a chant over and over. It's Lily,
okay,
Lily fucking Allen.
Okay.
And that's what she's presenting. That's who she presents herself as. And it didn't, to me at least, didn't really gel with the slightly posher and more
okay, all right.
But but when that image that she projected, it clearly did resonate. I fully accept I'm in the minority on that one. That most of the people who were there really they suspended their disbelief, let's say.
Okay.
If there were any to begin with, and it sounds like in your case there wasn't. I think possibly, I don't like to sort of pull English rank here.
No.
But I think that maybe I was getting different resonances. Also, being a northerner, listening to someone affecting chirpy southern for financial gain doesn't always sit well to begin with. There's a chip on the shoulder anyway. I accept.
Well, I mean, an international singer is playing to many audiences.
Yes.
There'll be a connection with some and not with the others.
That's fair.
And although if you grew up in New Zealand, you're in the 60s and 70s and 80s, you were fully exposed to all manner of British culture.
Yes.
If you're not yourself of any English stock,
it's still it's slightly a foreign language to a degree, isn't it?
So, anyway.
Well, there was one moment, you and I talked about this last night.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I'm right on this or not. I think at one point, when she was first addressing the audience, I'm sure she said something about being here in Australia. And when she said it sounded like there was a collective gasp in the audience. And then she very quickly moved on and got away with it. But I'm sure I heard that.
What I heard, sorry, this is a bit of a dispute about the accuracy of our hearing. I heard her saying that she'd been in Australia.
Oh, okay.
And I think there was like ooh, you're Australia, you've been there first. But I might have, I can't swear to that.
Yeah.
I could swear to other things as she did.
Yeah, well, she can swear to anything, can't she, to be fair, yeah.
Anyway, Lily Allen, divided opinions, but that's cool.
What I will say, to be fair, is there were divided opinions in Spark Arena last night.
Okay.
Among the several dozens of people who went along. Actually, to be fair, I was told that they did try and get the town hall.
Okay. Well, that might have been quite a nice setting. Yeah.
Actually, do you know what would have been good for that show? The power station. I think that was a power station show that we saw last night.
Okay.
And I think it's a shame that she ended up in Spark Arena. But yeah, very definitely. Dissenting voices in the minority.
Okay, fine.
I'll go along with that one. So, tell you what, let's do something else that we're more likely to agree on. Let's move on. So, Green Book.
Yes.
Green Book, a film telling a true life. Well,
the true character.
Yes. We'll take varying values of true for this one, right? Yes. So there's two characters. There's Dr. Don Shirley and there's Tony.
Yes.
Tony Villalonga.
Yeah, so this is a story set in the States. It's set in 1962, and if my American history serves me right, that's before LBJ came along and carried on with what Kennedy did to repeal all these laws in the South. I think that was sort of later in the 60s, wasn't it?
Yes.
So we're talking of the time when if you went into the South, there were laws about where black people could go and what they could do. Yeah. So we've got, as you say, Dr. Don Shirley. I hadn't heard of him before.
Me neither.
But he is a well-educated, refined, extremely articulate, quite genteel black musician who loves classical music, but has to present it in a sort of a jazzy form.
Yeah.
Played by Mahershala Ali.
That's a hell of a name, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a lot. I think it's Mahershala, but anyway, I hope he forgives me if I got it wrong.
And I'm sure he's got other things to worry about right now.
And he is about to embark on his first tour of the South. He's got a trio, two other blokes in the car, and he needs someone to chaperone, drive him and kind of look after him.
Yeah.
And he finds out about this New York Bronx Italian American Tony Vallelonga, but
Yeah.
Tony Lip for short,
Yeah.
who could be just the fellow. Tony's a nightclub bouncer, a bit rough around the edges.
Yeah.
Lets his fists do the talking occasionally, all that sort of stuff.
Oh yeah. And so Tony ends up driving around, and the thing is, right?
This is Viggo Mortensen.
Yes, it is indeed. And on the strength of that synopsis, if you can't tell where that film's headed, then seriously, you're not driving hard enough. So it's not really about the destination, is it?
No.
It's about the journey. And so you've got, I mean, by the end of the film, it was planes, trains, and automobiles. Along the way, it was Driving Miss Daisy. It broke very little new ground in terms of the material it covered.
No.
But what it did do,
Yes.
it was all about the interplay between Ali and Mortensen.
Yes.
And how good was that?
It was superb.
It was.
It was one of the most rewarding,
Yeah, there you go.
emotionally rewarding films I've seen in ages.
Yes.
The two actors were just on song all the way through this sort of road buddy movie experience. Both staying really living in their characters wonderfully well, and I think with your American experience, I think you can speak to how well Viggo Mortensen got to the heart of an Italian American from the Bronx.
Well, I married into an Italian American family. My late father-in-law, Joe, was born in Brooklyn. I watch shows like The Sopranos and think it's a documentary. I know these people.
Yes.
And yeah, I mean, Viggo Mortensen, he's born into a Danish family and grew up in Argentina, and yet he really, I mean, I couldn't fault his depiction. He even looked like he just the way he carried on. I mean, partly it's those shirts with the vertical stripes. That's such an Italian American thing to wear. But he was fantastic.
He was.
I don't know her name in front of me. The woman who played Dolores, his wife.
Okay.
Just didn't get much screen time, but what she did, she was gorgeous in every possible sense of it. She was lovely. I love the way he described Dr. Shirley's character. You said he's educated and refined. Basically, what you're really trying to say is he's white.
Well, this is a key part of the story, isn't it, Steve? Because to Tony's mind, he doesn't understand this black man in front of him. He thinks he's not black. He's not the black man that Tony has grown up with in the Bronx.
Doesn't eat fried chicken.
No.
Doesn't know who Aretha Franklin
is.
Doesn't even know. I mean, he's a piano player and doesn't know Little Richard. What kind of black man is he?
Exactly.
And so this is one of the problems with the film, in my opinion. And it's a problem with the film rather than the performances, because the performances are all but flawless.
Right.
But the film itself, and let's face it, it was co-written and it was co-produced by Nick Vallelonga, who is Tony's son in real life. And so obviously it's going to depict Tony's redemption as an ex-racist, very sympathetically. But it basically becomes a white man teaching a black man about being black. And that felt a little bit weird. I didn't quite like that. Because it felt like when eventually they end up at one point in a honky-tonk bar in the South somewhere, and Ali's character Shirley ends up actually standing up to play piano at one scene, even though there's one tiny little detail as he sits down at the piano that was absolutely gorgeous. I won't say anything, but if you think about it, you'll remember which detail it was.
All right. Moving the...
What did I just say about not spoiling you, Simon? What did I just say?
I couldn't help myself.
Seriously.
Okay, right, yes.
This is Crave with Steve McCain on his own. So, so there's all that going on, but you've got Tony teaching him about being black.
I'm not quite going to buy that. I know what you're saying. It's just that Tony is confronted with a man who doesn't fit Tony's view or stereotypical view of a black man, and Tony is saying, "Who are you? What's going on here? Why aren't you into the chicken and the music and blah blah blah?" I don't. And yes, there is that. And he's saying, "Are you?" That's how I took it. He's saying to Don Shirley, "Are you denying your true self? Are you somehow pretending to be something you're not? Are you?" And then when you're given the opportunity in that honky-tonk bar to express who you truly are, it comes out. Now, I think that is patronizing, but I think it's what Tony's got in his head.
Yes, absolutely. But the point is that what's in Tony's head, which was very, very narrow-minded and very, at the beginning, profoundly racially bigoted, is presented as being totally normal. And the way it comes across is that he finally allows Shirley to give voice to his inner black man.
Yeah, and
in a way that was acceptable to a white man.
Yeah, that's true. I can't. Okay, I take that.
Thank you.
And actually, there was. I don't think I just spoiled it too much, because this was a point that really hit me watching it in that same honky tonk bar. We're coming back to that scene. It's quite a pivotal scene, isn't it?
Yes,
in many ways.
It is.
We see Don Shirley join a group of other black musicians who've been playing sort of soul and rock. Immediately fit into the groove.
Oh, absolutely.
Now, we are told in the story up until that point by Don Shirley himself that he grew up and at a very early age was exposed to classical music.
And he always said that his preference, what he wanted to do, he didn't want to do the jazz and the pop.
No, he wanted to do
Shostakovich, Chopin, Beethoven. Yeah. And he was saying the record company required him to do the jazz and pop stuff because there's no way a black man playing Shostakovich is going to sell a single record.
So what are we being asked to believe in that moment in the film? Are we being asked to believe that this man, who we think had really never been exposed to that popular black music, has got it deep inside and it comes out without even having to try? Is that what we're being asked to believe?
Well, that's one possible reading. It could be that he's simply just such an accomplished musician
that he can just.
But immediately notices. I mean, it's also worth mentioning, by the way. I don't know if Ali actually plays piano. But whoever was doing the hands, it looked perfect. It looked seamless. It looked as though he was playing.
Yeah, it did.
But immediately, he sits down and he plays. I'm guessing it was Shostakovich. I don't know. It was one of the very, very poundy, heavy, very, very fiddly classical music pieces in this honky-tonk bar. And then the band come up on stage with him. And next thing you know, he's doing the roll with the left hand. He's got the thrashing out the rhythm with the right hand. And it was magnificent. All you can figure is, yes, he's that good.
Yeah.
But he only gets to be black when a white man allows it out of him, and that I didn't really care for.
No, I agree with that. I agree with you on that. The other thing is that throughout the film, of course, once they get into the South, the two men are continually confronted by examples of the racist law and culture of that region, and that's another really kind of challenging thing about this film, because on one hand you're really enjoying the performances, the comedic interaction between the two lead characters,
and it's. When you say comedic, it's occasionally, but not overly laugh out loud funny.
Yeah.
But it's warm, it's rich, it's detailed.
Oh, totally. I guess that's a good way of putting it. And so, but against the backdrop of all this awful racism, so they don't necessarily sit wonderfully well together, and you're kind of laughing but cringing at the same time.
Yeah. So when you've got Tony pulling Shirley's arse out the fire. In various ways, whether it's through his own doing or not, and it goes kind of both ways.
Yeah.
Sometimes he's the victim of disgraceful circumstances. Sometimes he sort of like digs a hole for himself. But either way, you see him initially doing it because that's how he's going to get paid.
Yes.
If Dr. Shirley doesn't make a gig, then he doesn't get his money.
Yep.
But then it does definitely transcend into, you know what, I'm just going out for this bloke.
Yeah.
But there is one scene. There's one scene where he has to come and rescue him from the YMCA.
Yes.
That hints at an element of Shirley's character.
Yes.
That he's never ever addressed again. No. I thought that was a bit clumsily handled.
Yeah, I think there's one brief sort of mention after that, but well, that didn't bother me so much because I guess, without giving it too much away, that this aspect of this character is something that a man in that position would have gone to great lengths to hide.
In the early 60s. So,
I didn't mind that so much, right? I take your point.
No, but it's not the fact that they mentioned it, that's absolutely fine. It's the fact that from a narrative point of view, it was shown reasonably explicitly. It was in the sense of it was very clear what was going on.
Yes.
And yet it was then never returned to. You can't bring up a character point like that just to dismiss it.
Yeah.
That was the bit I didn't like.
Okay. Having said all that, and those are good points to reflect on and maybe question about this film, I come back to the fact that by the end of it, I felt I had been utterly and thoroughly entertained by two wonderful actors.
No question. So it's up for a number of Oscars, right?
Yeah.
It's up for Best Film, which it's not going to get.
No.
I don't know it should, to be honest. It's a very nice film.
Yes.
I don't know it's really quite got the heft
it doesn't.
of a Best Film. Mortensen's up for Best Actor.
Well, I'd give it to him, but I haven't seen all the other competitors yet. But I think he's shown a great range.
Yes, he has.
I saw him in where he played the Russian hitman in the film with Naomi Watts, where it's set in London and there's the Eastern Promises.
Okay, right, yeah.
He played a Polish American hitman who tries to get out of the life of crime in A History of Violence.
Yeah.
He was very good in that.
Yeah.
Of course, we knew him from Aragorn and from The Lord of the Rings. I think he's got a great
Honorary
range.
Kiwi, yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen him in Captain Fantastic, but I understand he was very good in that.
Yeah.
So I think he's a really good actor.
Yeah. He's up against, and I think this is probably going to win it, Christian Bale as Dick Cheney in Vice. So I think that could pooch him.
Could be.
But Best Supporting Actor, and I do think it's reasonable that he's in a supporting actor.
Yeah.
Because really, Green Book is Tony's film.
It is. It starts with him, and yes, you're right, it is.
Yeah. So Mahershala Ali is going to win Best Supporting Actor.
Yeah, I'd say.
And I don't see why he wouldn't. I think he's fantastic in that.
Yeah.
We'll come back to a couple of Oscar noms shortly.
Yes.
I think we ought to, but
yes.
yeah. But for the time being, what else do we have to talk about, Simon?
Okay, look, so there's another film which has some similarities in a way. Also based on real events.
Yeah.
Also a historical film, but much further back in history.
Yes.
We're talking about Mary, Queen of Scots.
We are indeed.
Again, two very good actors in the leads, and I'm going to invite you, Mr. McCabe, to pronounce the name of the actress who plays Mary, Queen of Scots, because I keep getting the first name.
Go on, have a swing at it.
No, I don't want to.
Go on.
Is it like Saoirse Ronan or something like that?
Something like that.
What is it?
Saoirse.
Saoirse Ronan.
Yeah.
As Mary, the Irish. She's an Irish woman, isn't she?
Have you ever heard her being interviewed?
Yes, yeah, very thick Irish accent.
She's never left the box in her life to hear her being interviewed, and yet I have yet to hear her put a single vowel sound wrong in any film she's ever made.
Yeah.
She's incredible.
Yeah, very good. And then we've got the Australian Margot Robbie as Queen Elizabeth I, who we enjoyed both very much in Tonya, didn't we?
I, Tonya.
I
thought she was magnificent
so
in that.
Two really, really good actors.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So let's start. Overall, did you think that it hit the mark, this one?
We're going to talk about slight reservations, but overall, absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought it takes you back to the time. There's been a lot of effort in. It's the paraphernalia of filmmaking, but it's really important. You know, the use of language, use of music, costume, the sets. The story really gives you the intrigue and the double dealing.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
And the politics of who is legitimate heir and who isn't, and the hierarchy of that.
Yes.
So that is wonderfully, richly depicted.
Mm-hmm.
On that, I couldn't help but thinking, I have been and I remain a Game of Thrones fan, but this takes it to a level where you know that actually happened.
Yes.
So I thought I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, but the Game of Thrones analogy is inevitable, because let's face it, anytime you have anything that's kind of medieval-ish, and
sorry, I have to have another one of these. Go on,
please do, and that level of intrigue where people's entire lives revolve around backstabbing and plotting. It's like every waking moment, probably quite a few of the sleeping ones as well, revolve around stabbing each other in the back, when that's your entire life. Yeah, the Game of Thrones parallels are inevitable. And the thing the Game of Thrones has done, of course, is it's raised the bar for production values.
Yeah.
So Mary, Queen of Scots starts off, and it's hardly a spoiler, she's been dead for 400 years. It starts off with Mary about to be executed.
Yes.
And then immediately flashes back to her arrival back in Scotland, back in Leith, coming back from France to reclaim the throne of Scotland, when Scotland was, not for much longer, still an independent country.
Yeah.
So it's an independent nation from England. And you've got Elizabeth, who is something like her cousin once removed, I believe, on the English throne, and has always had a slightly contested claim. And she basically, she'd been written out of her father Henry VIII's succession by her father, because he'd done away with her mother Anne Boleyn. So she was out of contestation in theory, but when her half brother Edward the Edward VII died at an early age, he was only in his teens when he died. So obviously without a successor, there was Lady Jane Grey, there was Mary Tudor, and then then there was Elizabeth. She was low down in the pecking order.
Right.
She really didn't have a strong claim. She was better than nothing in many ways.
I don't think, just to interrupt you, I don't think that aspect was rammed home in the film.
No, it wasn't. No.
So I didn't. I did a bit of this at school, but I didn't recall the fine points of that. I wondered, hearing you say that, it might have helped the appreciation of the film just a bit more if that had been just slightly made a little clearer.
I know what you're saying, so I think it informs Margot Robbie's portrayal of Elizabeth as the film goes on. It starts off with Elizabeth as magnificently in charge and completely confident in her role as Queen of England. And this is when England was in the ascendancy. This is when England was starting to found colonies in the Americas, and England was going from a backwater that had to do treaties with other countries to get influence into a country that was powerful in its own right. So she changed English history in many ways, but it depicts her as tapering off in her confidence, partly because she realises she's got no heir. She's the end of the line, and she is being courted by men that she doesn't want to compromise her authority with. And at the same time, she sees her cousin up in Scotland, who has the opposite arc. Starts off kind of a little bit giddy and girly, just a little bit. And again, this is the strength of both of these two women as phenomenal actors. You see Robbie depicting Elizabeth sort of losing it while Mary is in the ascendancy. Mary is gaining in confidence, Mary is gaining in authority. She goes from being a little bit uncertain of herself to staring down a magnificently depicted John Knox, played by David Tennant. He was fantastic.
He's very good.
But she stares him down.
Just to pick up on that point, because the growth in that confidence must surely be in large part because of her understanding of the strength of her claim.
Yes.
And the weakness of Elizabeth's claim.
Yes.
And so there's a key, we can talk about this, as you say, it's all historical. So this film does indeed portray a meeting of the two women.
Yeah, that's possibly the one ahistorical aspect
maybe.
of it.
But in that, we hear Mary say, "I am your superior," words to that effect.
Yes.
And again, I think, I in hindsight, and having heard you, thank you for your historical analysis, it just would have helped me to have just had that slightly explained a bit more. So when she said that, it wasn't a case of bravado, it was actually her saying, this is how it is, actually.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe I missed it, but I didn't quite get the firmness of that point in the storytelling.
And this is going to be a challenge in a case like that, because one of the worst things you can have in this kind of film is characters explaining the plot to each other.
But there was a little bit of a paragraph or two at the beginning of the film just outlining.
But there has to be.
There has to be. So maybe there was an opportunity there just to say, Mary, by dint of birthright, had a stronger claim, or something like that. I don't know.
Because let's face it, again, hardly a spoiler. When Elizabeth eventually died, she does die, guys. Again, not a spoiler. She's not alive any longer, right?
Yes.
But when she did die, it was indeed Mary, Queen of Scots' little boy James, who succeeded her
and ruled both.
And he was the one who led to the unification of the two crowns. Yes.
Yeah.
And so you did have depicted quite explicitly in history the fact that Mary did have the more legitimate claim to the throne. And so the film is the portrayal of Mary's realization in many ways that yes, she actually does have a stronger claim.
Yes.
But let's look at problems, shall we? Let's look at problems. We keep talking about the history of this film.
Yes.
Now, Simon, did you notice glaring is the wrong word. Did you notice a possible historical detail that we're not entirely happy with?
Well, I'm not going to say I'm not happy with it, but there's a very noticeable aspect of the way this film is presented, which at the very least raises a question in your mind, and that is that in the cast there are several black faces.
There are,
and one of the two in particular have quite significant roles. The mostly is the English ambassador to Scotland, Lord Randolph, who's a pretty critical role in terms of ferrying between the two kingdoms and trying to establish diplomatic relations.
He does have a significant job as a messenger between the two queens, yes.
And Lord Randolph is played by Adrian Lester, very, very well. He's a black guy. And I thought, well, probably there weren't black guys in the Tudor court. I wasn't sure. I actually had a quick look afterwards to see what Lord Randolph looked like. And no, he was, as far as I could tell, he was a European chap, an Englishman. Now,
An Englishman.
An Englishman.
I think you mean a white man. Okay. Black men are allowed to be English too. We're very,
I know, in that time.
We're very liberal progressive like that these days.
In that time, in the 1500s or whatever it was.
You're right. There likely weren't that many, to be fair, in that level. As a nobleman in the court of.
That's fine. And so I did come across a comment from the director, Josie Rourke, who said, she just said in an interview, there was no way I was going to cast an all-white cast in this film. She basically saying I wanted to have diversity in my cast, and that was important to me.
Right.
Does it matter? Does it matter in a film which is going to some lengths to portray in some detail life at that time, that one aspect of it is probably not as it was at that time?
Yes.
That is the question.
So are we looking for a strictly historical document, or are we looking for an interpretation within modern lights? Right.
So this isn't, as has been done sometimes, Steve, a revisionist take where you've got a Shakespeare set in 1965 or something.
Yes.
This isn't that.
Yeah.
So we kind of put that to one side. It's a director saying it doesn't matter what the skin colour is.
Okay.
And the story, it doesn't affect the story. It may not be how it was, but in my telling of the story, and this is where it's not a documentary, but a director's vision.
Right. Yeah.
This is how I want to give it to you.
Okay. So why wasn't, for example, Elizabeth played by an Indian woman? Let's say.
Well, I'm not Josie Rourke, the director,
No.
but what? That's a good question.
I mean,
we talked about this before, didn't we? About how far can you go in changing the ethnicity of a significant character to tell a story?
But as you say, to be fair, whether Randolph is played by a white man or a black man makes no difference. The fact is, Adrian Lester is a top actor,
great actor,
and he did a fantastic job. So it doesn't matter.
No,
it just becomes a little bit pointed. It becomes a bit marked.
Yeah.
It's clearly a decision she made, and she said, I'm not doing this without a diverse cast.
Yeah.
The fact is, was one, maybe two, and then it starts to feel a little bit token, and I don't really know what to make of it.
Yeah, I was in that position. I noted it. You couldn't help but note it, and I thought, well, this, something's been done here deliberately to make a point, probably, and that's fine. It just leaves a little question that you have to ponder as you're watching and as you reflect on the film afterwards. I don't think it detracts hugely from the film at all. As you say, Adrian Lester does a really good job. He's great. He's a good actor. He's a really good actor, and he does a good job.
Let's face it, very nearly everybody in this film.
Yeah, very good. So it's just an interesting commentary, I guess, about maybe the evolution of how we're all represented on screen and in popular culture.
Yeah.
It's happening with Me Too. It's happening with all these things. And here's an example of how one director is saying, I'm moving things along a little bit.
Yeah. But so much else in the film. I mean, we were talking earlier about the language of the screenplay.
Yeah.
It's sort of like it's verging on the Shakespearean. There's a lot of magnificent speeches, and there's a lot of, out of the mouths of lesser actors, it would have been stilted. We must move. There is much to be done. Type of language, which again, a lesser actor would have made that sound just clanging and not very good. But the cast in this film were such magnificent deliverers of speeches that they made it work. So it's clearly an attempt to make this reflect history.
Do you think that the modern look at this story was also reflected in the fact that it's a story about two strong women?
Yeah. And
that was an opportunity also to tell a story about two strong women, where they are the centre of the story. Their take on their struggle is presented, in a very detailed and full way. Is that also just part of what's going on around the world in recent times, that people who were underrepresented in the past are getting opportunity to have their stories told in a bit fuller way?
Well, I mean, it's not like somebody made the decision to cast Mary Queen of Scots as a woman.
No.
She was always.
I know
she
you're
was
saying.
always going to get cast as a woman. But the
yeah.
fact is that we are now in a place where you can tell the story of two women, where a film revolves around the political intrigue between two women.
Yes.
Look at the film we talked about last week, Vice.
Yeah.
Was about 95% male, because that was a story that involved virtually all blokes.
Yeah.
Because most of history has, for better or worse, the reality is that most of history has been men running the show.
Yeah, yeah.
But the fact is that we've got a very, very significant pivotal part of British history where two women were the absolute engine of change in the entire of the British Isles. And so it is entirely appropriate that their story be told. And 10 years ago, there is less chance that it would have been told, certainly not in this way.
Yeah.
We would have seen a lot more of the men pulling the strings.
Yeah.
Obviously, it was hinted at.
Yes.
It had to be.
Yes.
I mean, give me that cast list that you've got.
Yeah, I've got it.
You printed out.
I did, yes.
And I'm trying to remember, the bloke who played Mary's brother, and I can't...
there's very small writing there, Steve.
It is, my eyes are up to it. Not Bothwell, Murray was the character, wasn't it? And I can't even find him on here. I made reference to this in my review on cravepodcast.com. He played the character with beautiful subtlety.
Yes.
It's like he was a man who was trying to convince himself he was doing the right thing.
Okay. Yes. No, he was.
But he was very. They were very much supporting figures.
They were.
Who were in the orbit of these two very, very important women. And I don't know that the film would have been made that way. Yeah. And it certainly would have been made by a female director 10 years ago. So that's a really big deal.
It is. And it's a good film. It's a well-told film, well acted. Another example of a film where, if you go back to, I don't know, Lawrence of Arabia, where I remember Lawrence of Arabia opened up with his death in the film. And there are other examples, I'm sure, where Paul Greengrass's telling of the 9/11 plane which crashed, where once you get into the story, you almost forget that you know what the outcome is. You get so engrossed in the storytelling that it doesn't matter. And this is a very well done film. It was
absolutely brilliant. And let's face it, with all this talk of your man playing Randolph, also nice. Bloody good actor.
A very good actor.
And that ultimately is all that matters. And can I just go back again? There's one bloody good actor that we need to revisit. Yeah. David Tennant.
Okay.
He was barking, wasn't he?
He was excellent. He was a scene stealer.
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
Yes, he was. In fact, I saw Mary Queen of Scots and Debbie, our guest reviewer, who was a Doctor Who fan.
Right.
And she didn't recognise him. Oh. I mean, first of all, there's some astonishing facial hair on that.
Yeah, yes.
And then he's deep Scots.
So he's playing John Knox, and he's sort of the religious spearhead of the attempts to undermine Mary in Scotland.
Yes, because Mary, remember, is Catholic. And Knox was the spearhead of the Scottish Reformation. Yeah. And he decries her as a hooer with the most magnificent spittle-flying madness. He's brilliant.
Very good.
So the whole thing is outstanding. I mean, there are things in it that are actually quite uncomfortable to watch. Yeah. The sex scenes, while not being necessarily involving the Game of Thrones style nudity, was very violent and quite graphic. Yeah, but that's the story that needed telling. Yeah, it's good. Okay, bloody good film. Moving swiftly on.
Let's just change to some music. So, if you've been following our progress on our website cravepodcast.com, you may have seen
cravepodcast.com.
You may have seen Steve's reviews and photo gallery from the just recently ended Laneway Festival in Auckland.
It was this Monday, yes, Auckland Anniversary Day.
And now this is not your first Laneway Festival.
No, it's my second. Exact,
and so just you can get all the details on the website, but just for the purposes of our videocast and podcast today, what's the sort of the headline for you? The top points you've taken away from this year's festival?
The first thing is, it's a fantastic day out. Yeah. It really is. It's a very, very well put on event. They block off Albert Park and Princes Street in central Auckland by the university there on what's almost guaranteed to be the sunniest and loveliest day of the year. And it's a very, very mellow, enjoyable, relaxed, fantastic day out. Okay. There's about 13,000 people in the park. Yeah. There were nearly 30 acts. So it's pretty impressive. Yes. A little bit more variety in the music would have suited me, to be perfectly honest. But then, I'm probably not the target audience. Highlight of the day for my money had to be Gang of Youths.
Okay.
Who I think I mentioned to you in passing. They've definitely been listening to their old Bruce Springsteen records. Okay. I'll play you some afterwards. Okay. Seriously, if you don't hear it, then you're not trying. But they were fantastic. Okay. Courtney Barnett, who again, like Gang of Youths, Aussie, which is a bit disappointing to say that the highlights were not of what is, let's face it, these days New Zealand's leading music festival were both Australians.
Right.
Although let's face it, Gang of Youths they're Pacific more than particularly Aussie. Okay. But yeah, Courtney Barnett's from Sydney, and on record, she sounds a little bit twee. Okay. She's almost like you could actually, if you close your eyes and squinted, you could almost find points of contact between her and Lily Allen. Slightly barbed lyrics. Yes. A bit punchy. Yeah. A bit interesting, but much more jagged music. Okay. So it's like a bit splintery guitar rock. But very, very pared back, very, very entertaining enough. Yeah. But puts her on the Princes Street stage in front of several thousand people, and suddenly, even though there's still only, I think there's four of them on the stage, drummer, keyboard player, and bassist in her. Suddenly, you've got a really rich, really powerful sound. She puts an awful lot of energy into her music. So, Lily Allen last night, so there's sort of like chirpy, chatty kind of conversational style to her singing in her fast song. Yeah. You hear a lot of that in Courtney Barnett on record. Live, she tips her head back and roars. Okay. And there's what was of chirpy energy on the records is passionate fire on stage. Oh, good. And she was really, really good. Okay, fantastic. So I'm really glad I went for that. Lovely. Definitely. Great. Okay, good. Well, there's a couple of acts. Look, I'm going to have to listen to Gang of Youth so I can. I'll play you a song after. Yeah, seriously, you'll hear what I'm hearing. I'm sure you will. All right, and again, so there's a lot of photos and written reviews from you on cravepodcast.com. That's cravepodcast.com. Thank you. Now, just before we sum up things... Tell me about a film you've seen. Yeah, I just want to quickly tell you about a film because I saw a film last year by M. Night Shyamalan. I always get that wrong. Shyamalan. Yeah. It was seen as a return to form by that director. The film was called Split. Yes, I remember you mentioning this one, yes. James McAvoy does an absolutely bang-up virtuoso performance as a man who suffers from identity disorder. He's got 23 personalities living in his brain. Ooh. The film is never alone. No. So the film is a psycho thriller, right. Quite Hitchcockian in its way. Yeah. One of the characters is the Beast. Okay. And the key point of that film was that we find out from the psychoanalyst who's trying to treat him. In one scene, she says, "Look, we know that in one human body, one psyche might be allergic to bee stings, but when they occupy a different psyche, they're not." I've heard of this, yeah. And she goes on to say, maybe this gives us an insight to where the whole idea of the supernatural might come from. Okay. So that's an interesting idea, and it's... Yeah. And you may not agree with it, but it's an interesting idea. Did they run with it, though? Did they do anything with it? Well, the film ends with the beast gaining ascendancy, being overpowered at the end, and imprisoned, if you like, and that's where that story ends. But there's a postscript to the film where, out of the blue, we see Bruce Willis. Okay. Now, in 2000, now that's 19 years ago, the same director did a film called Unbreakable. Right. Bruce Willis played a bloke who just didn't suffer any injuries. He was in a train crash and he walked out unscathed. Okay. Some sort of superpower. And Samuel L. Jackson was a kind, that story was like an evil genius who was trying to manipulate matters. I'm not explaining it too well, but that's the story from 2000. I'm thinking that's a hell of a callback, isn't it? Yes, well, it's huge. That's a long game. So I saw that Bruce Willis. I thought, now where have I seen him before? What's he doing? And I had to go back and look at it. Right. I had to go back and watch Unbreakable again. Okay. Now it's 18 years ago. Does he see dead people in this film? No. Okay. No. Thank you. Good question. So what the director has done is he's taken a story from 2000, a story from 2018, and tried to put them together. Some of it is done quite well, but inevitably he's a shoehorning that goes in that I felt didn't quite work. And I don't want to go into too much more detail, but... No, but the fact that he hedged it with tries to do it. Yeah,
Well, because I was wanting to like
Right,
it. Because
right.
I liked Split last year.
Yes.
I liked James McAvoy.
I remember you speaking very highly of it,
And
yes.
just here's an example.
Go on.
In Split, you don't see all 23 personalities.
Right.
There's only 3 or 4 that are mostly present
Yeah.
during the film. And when he's in a personality, he
Yeah.
stays there for a while.
Right, okay,
So you
yeah.
get to enjoy the actor's work.
Right.
And then switch to someone else.
Yeah.
In this film, they decide to show more of those 23 personalities.
So-
and he's chopping and changing like going through a revolving door.
So it's spreading a bit too thin.
Well, the actor does it very well, but you're not given long enough to sort of attach yourself to that character before another one comes along. I found it a little bit, it was like for show.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
And in the end, it's frustrating me rather than disappointed.
Yeah, that's a shame,
Frustrating.
man.
Yeah, anyway, so not awful, but could have been so much better.
And can you see it as a standalone film, or do you need to have seen...
It's I had gone back to watch Unbreakable just before seeing this film,
Right.
and there are actually 1 or 2 scenes that are revisited. So you might work it out, but you get a much richer experience if you can find a copy of Unbreakable and see it again.
Because it is a big ask, isn't it, to
Oh,
expect people
huge. Yeah.
to bring everything back in. Okay, so you've not sold me.
No, I'm not going to recommend you see it because
No.
I don't think you'd enjoy it.
No. Well, here's one that I'm not going to recommend that you see either, for that matter.
Right.
I'm going to recommend that you don't see The Favourite.
And this was a film which I just reading here and there sounds like many people have been raving about.
Well, everything about it sounded fantastic.
Yeah.
It's about Queen Anne, played by Olivia Colman,
Yeah.
and you've got 2 women who are cousins, who both are in her employ, played by Rachel Weisz and by Emma Stone.
Right.
So you're thinking, okay, there you go, I'm sold. Right there, that's it. You
Good
can
actor.
say no more, this is going to be a fantastic film. Directed by Yorgos Lanthimos, Greek auteur.
Okay.
Now, the last thing of his that I saw was The Lobster, which was very peculiar.
Okay.
Very. And not in an entirely good way either.
Okay.
It was Colin Farrell was in it.
Oh, okay. I didn't see it, but I know that. Yeah. Okay.
And the ending is awful.
Okay.
The ending is nasty. So it's a very, very, very odd film. And they were saying that he sort of like dialed back the oddness, but still kept the interesting, quirky characterfulness of the film. And so, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of use of like fisheye lenses where you can see walls sort of bending around, so it's wide angle. Or there's lots of shots of when people walk across rooms. There's clearly a very, very short focal length lens that swings around wildly. You can see the room in a very, very weird way. So it's like very, very clever camera work. There's moments of really, really, really sharp, sparky dialogue between the female leads. There's one of the very first scenes just between Rachel Weisz and Olivia Colman that just snaps, and I thought was really, really sharp. Now, I started watching this with Debbie, our guest reviewer, and after 10 minutes she said, I don't want to watch this anymore.
After 10 minutes?
Yes, she'd taken against it.
Wow.
I said, I'm going to stick through it, I'm going to watch it.
Okay.
And by the end of it, I was bored.
Oh.
It just didn't hold my attention. It was too clever for its own good. It was... I could see what they were aiming for, this sort of like slightly interesting, vicious little interplay between the 3. I mean, there's a lovely scene, like I say, at the very, very start, where Queen Anne asks Rachel Weisz's character, do I look okay? Who did you make up? I did it myself. Does it look okay? You look like a badger. What do you look like? And it's brilliant. It's absolutely beautiful. And if the entire film had had that sharpness and subtlety, I'd have loved it. But it is too clever for its own good. And yet it's up for all manner of Oscars. Best Picture, it's up for. I think Olivia Colman's Best Actress.
Yeah.
Weisz and Stone are both up for Best Supporting Actress.
There you are.
And no.
Okay.
No,
well,
just don't, seriously.
Okay, all right, okay, thank you. Now look, I note on our website that you have been quite busy just putting updates of concerts coming up, extra shows from so-and-so, and a return of Sir Elton and all such manner of things.
Yes.
Would you care to just perhaps one or two highlights before we
wind
up?
Well, I mean, that's the big one, obviously. I mean, Fleetwood Mac have announced an extra date. You can look that up on the internet if you want. Yeah. But let's face it, there's only one announcement that really matters right now. The only one that really matters is Elton John.
Yeah.
Is coming back to New Zealand for what has to be the last time ever.
You'd think.
I mean, yeah, he's saying he's doing this farewell Yellow Brick Road tour, which is a bit of a contrived name.
Yeah.
But he's doing this huge tour. He's doing like it's a proper world tour. He's going everywhere.
Yeah.
So the dates he's announced are a year from now.
Yes.
So Dunedin, he's going to be playing Forsyth Bar Stadium, obviously, on Tuesday the 4th of February next year. Saturday the 8th of February, Mission Estate Winery in Napier. And then the next night, astonishingly, Sunday the 9th of February, he's at Mount Smart Stadium in Auckland.
Okay.
And so he's doing 3 nights. He's doing 15 nights in Australia ahead of that.
Wow.
15 nights.
He's 71 now.
Yeah.
Could be 72 by the time this rod comes in. But
Absolutely, yeah.
I remember some years ago, Steve, he came here and did a show split in half with him doing, I think, the first half and Billy Joel doing the second.
That sounds familiar, yes. It's about 5 years ago.
Yeah, at least. And I thought, actually, at that time, I thought half a show each seemed about right.
Yes.
So, anyway.
I don't know what his set list looked like that time round, but this time, you know it's going to be nothing but
the big ones.
a greatest hits.
Yes.
So, looking at the press release, and it says, the reference, Benny and the Jets, Rocket Man, Tiny Dancer, Crocodile Rock, Philadelphia Freedom. And, I mean, that's just scratching the surface, isn't it? I mean, that's got an amazing back catalogue.
Sure.
That's going to be a hell of a good show.
It will be, yeah, well, if it is indeed his last show, you'd think he's going to want to go out with a bang.
Well, I mean, the tour itself, it's going to be, I mean, go to his website. There's links from our website, cravepodcast.com. There's links to his site, and you can see it's an astonishing tour he's putting on.
Yeah.
He's going, when he's doing the UK after he's played here. So before he plays here, he's doing the UK, and he's doing like all over England and Ireland and Wales, I think, and Scotland.
Yeah.
He's coming down here, then he's going back to Europe, and he's doing several more shows across the UK, and then he's doing all of Europe. I mean, he's 71 years old. I wish I had that energy at my age. He's incredible. He's doing a lot, and this is and I do think, given this is going to be his last, and it's obviously going to be a big greatest hits show. They're talking about, see if I can find the language on the website, the most elaborate high-tech arena show Elton has ever attempted. A parade of mega hits and one hell of a way to say goodbye, say Rolling Stone. And I have a feeling we'll be saying something very, very similar when the day comes round.
All right,
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, great. All right, fantastic. I think that's us.
That's us.
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you. If you'd like to get in touch with Steve and I, you can email us at cravepodcast.com. Podcast@cravepodcast.com.
Yes, I will explain to Simon afterwards how we email it. Yeah, we're on, obviously I'll handle this bit. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter at Crave Podcast.
Yes, so I'm Simon Mercer.
I'm Steve McCabe.
That's what's been entertaining us this week.